Hello, everybody.
Good morning. It's Tim Wild, David Essery, and this is week 29 of the Woodland Chronicles. But we've got something a little bit different for you this morning. We have got a question and answer.
Woo!
Yay! And I'm kind of in the woods. David, you're not in the woods, are you?
I would have loved to, but I didn't know if my signal would hold up for us to actually have a conversation together in the woods. So
Yeah,
I thought I
yeah.
would play it safe today.
It'd
I
be
have
a
a
real
plant.
change. Yes, a plant and an angel and a
Maybe I should
beautiful
just
piece of
brought it over and
yeah,
left it here
hid
whilst we
behind
talk.
it or
Yeah.
something. I am excellent.
But Tim, thank you so much for inviting me to join you for this morning. Really looking forward to
Oh,
this.
my pleasure. I thought with the way that the energies are flowing at the moment, we're just coming up to, I mean, we're days away from the Lionsgate portal opening. And I know the date is the 8th of the 8th officially, but
Mm.
I know you feel this as well, David, that the actual Lionsgate portal period lasts for while the sun transits Leo. And
Absolutely.
so all of this high frequency energy that we felt, I mean, July has been for me, for you, for everybody else around, and particularly this week as well, a very, very challenging month
It has.
for many different reasons. A lot of physical stuff going on, a lot of astral things going on, a lot to do with communication. A lot of, I mean, I've even seen something which I call parallel bleed through, which is where you get the kind of like the merging of different frequencies that shouldn't exist together, and we're sorting out what looks to it looks a little bit like a bowl of spaghetti, and getting all of the bits of spaghetti in a straight line so we know where we're going. And when we've kind of been through this particular period of time, the Lionsgate portal, we're all going to be functioning on a very different timeline, a very different platform of energy, but it's all going on at the
It
moment.
is. For me, it's not even really so much about when the Lions Gate opens or anything. I feel like we hit the solstice on June 21st, and then it just does not stop until the Lions Gate has settled down. It's like a whole window of time that's just really intense. I don't know about you, but every year I find I go for well over a month with just not sleeping, like throughout this whole window of energy.
Hmm.
And like the more and more I feel into this, I think it's just because we're all so busy in the nights. We do so much work that we're not consciously aware of because we're often in our astral bodies or whatever doing
Yeah,
our thing, and it's kind of exhausting.
it is exhausting, and there's a logical answer for the sleeping thing that's going on at the moment, because if you think about what we're doing in our physical bodies, are like what we would regard as a limited physical body, which in actual fact, we are far from limited. We
Mm.
are anchoring in a very, very high frequency energy on a daily basis, and the nervous system comes into play. And it's been a lot about the nervous system this year.
For
You
sure.
can work with these energies and they might feel wonderful and beautiful and angelic and quite rapturous at the time, and then afterwards you have to integrate that
Mm.
energy, and your nervous system has been aware of that energy before you were physically consciously connecting to it. So the nervous system is two steps ahead of the game because it's tied in with the brain, the kind of the cosmic antennae, and the nervous system is sometimes misinterpreting stuff that we have around us and putting us into a state of alarm. So we've got this kind of regulation of the nervous system as we get used to these energies coming in. And of course, we're just catching up with all of this. And sleep is something that gets greatly affected by like the kind of the being lit up, the whole being lit up thing. It's wonderful at the time, and we talk about it all the time, and the object is to be more light,
Mm.
but we have to accommodate the physicalities of this in the process of doing so.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like trying to fit stuff in your boot. When you try and put more stuff in, you have to take old stuff out, and that's what happens. We are pushing
It
old
is.
vibration, old energy out of our physical bodies to make room for the light, for the new codes and everything that's coming through.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Well
that's a
said.
physical
Well
process.
said. Yeah, it is a very physical process, and we're carrying a lot of responsibility as well. And the weight of that responsibility, whether conscious or unconscious, is great. It reminds me a little bit of the analogy of, have you ever seen a bloke carrying shopping bags from the boot of the car to the kitchen door? I'm guilty of it as well. I'll try and carry about 10 of them, and like the fingertips are turning white, you know what I mean? But you got to do it, kind of thing. It's, we're trying to kind of run with all of these bags of like very, very heavy duty energies and shopping and everything like that, and the, probably more than anything else, the realization of just how big this entire process is. If it wasn't so big, we wouldn't be receiving so much pushback from the 3D matrix at the moment, which is another thing which is very triggering for the nervous system. So there's so many different parts to this machine that are simultaneously kind of working either in alignment or not in alignment. And here we are.
That's it. And it's just a case of tuning into those things and trying to bring yourself into alignment with it the best you can. And just going with the flow of it, really, because otherwise you'll just get bogged down.
Yeah, absolutely. And in order to assist the lack of bogging, the unbogging, we've like the debogging of the process, we've thought we'd answer a few questions this morning.
That's it. And I think that leads actually into one of them in particular that I spotted. I'm just going to see if I can find it. We'll start there and then we'll work our way back around.
We will attempt to answer as many as we can this morning. And flow in the direction with which it is intended.
Typically now I can't find that exact question, but it's such a common one, and I know so many people will face this, so I can paraphrase it really. That it was someone, I apologize, I can't find the exact one to remember your name, but about kind of trying to raise kids and be dedicated to the ascension process, being committed to want to step into that role and fulfill that, but at the same time having dependents, whether that's children or anyone else really, and just even without children, just day-to-day responsibilities that we all have to live, whether we're trying to pay the bills, whatever it is that we're trying to do, whilst anchoring this light in and going through this physical process. And what are the things that we can do to support ourselves in this? And actually, funny enough, that makes me think, Tim, of your excellent workshop, Keeping Your Beautiful Vibration, that you did this week.
Thank you, David. Yeah, I mean, we have got so many things going on at the moment. I think that might have been Jazanne Thorne's question: how do we support children going through this, or the young people, and ourselves simultaneously? And the most important thing to do when you have people around you that are dependent is it's down to authenticity of frequency and vibration. This particular period of time is about leading by example. There's very few ears that wish to listen to preaching anymore. It's almost like the soapbox era is over. We are showing the way. We are the way showers by actions and vibration. So if there's little that we can do to control the world around us, but we can control ourselves and the way that our frequency is managed, and that in turn is by far the most effective way of allowing people the space to step into that mode and vibration. Everybody has got to be themselves at the moment. There's an incredible push, particularly from particularly again, I'll use the word the 3D matrix, for for all of the acceptance and all of the other stuff, but it's disguised. And we have to be very authentic in what we are anchoring in, what we are receiving, what we are presenting to other people. And ultimately it comes down to self-love, responsibility. Actions speak louder than words at the end of the day. And so that is the best way that we can support those around us, by maintaining the highest frequency and setting the example. That is the way that teaching is done in harmony with the fifth dimensional heart vibration.
Absolutely. Well said, Tim. And I think when it comes back down to as well our own personal ascension that we're trying to manage whilst looking after people and things like that, you know, we would all love to be able to sit in meditation for hours a day and focus on these things, but the reality is that's not possible. So I think the best thing we can do is find ways that we can kind of quickly reset our vibration. Tim talked a lot in his workshop the other day about routine, having a plan every day, which is fantastic. You know, even if you can just find 10 minutes for yourself every day. In fact, that's why Tim and I created the daily practice meditation in the Ascension Toolkit, just purely if you've only got that 10-15 minutes to do something that will set up your vibration for the day ahead of you. That's fantastic. But, you know, if you can recognize within yourself when your energy is starting to drop, which of course can be one of the biggest challenges. But if you can, there's then things that you can do to very quickly pick yourself up. Simple things like mantras are so powerful. Have something that works for you. You know, it can be a simple phrase, even just if you haven't got something in particular, I am my highest self. That will work perfectly. I am my I am, whatever it is. Say that to yourself 3 times and just make it a conscious thing. So, you know, you could just say, I am, you know, and not really give it any thought. Or you can go, I am, my I am, and feel that in your heart as you do it, because it will have much more effect because of that. You say that to yourself 3 times and you will instantly raise your vibration and, you know, then set yourself up to carry on with the day. Even if that lasts for you for half an hour or an hour, you then spend another 20 seconds doing it again and just give yourself those little pickups that you need throughout the day. The other thing that I'm feeling more and more at the moment, and I talked about this in my workshop last night, last year Tim and I talked a lot about the Alta Major. That was the year of the Alta Major chakra. I honestly feel that this is going to be the year of the thymus chakra, the higher heart. This came back online for us at a 5th dimensional level in 2021. And, you know, all of the common problems, this exact question, you know, how do we go about our day-to-day lives that requires so much of this whilst remaining in this? That is the exact job that the higher heart or the thymus chakra has been built to do, to help us with this exact problem. And just activating it. Ask Universal Angel Mary to activate your thymus chakra, your higher heart chakra at a 5th dimensional level, and anchor the wisdom from your mind and the love from your heart. And it will draw them together. What it does is it activates your higher mind so that you're coming at this from a more enlightened perspective, for want of a better word. And that will help you remain in that heart-centered ascension state where you want to be, but still with the mental clarity that you need to go about your day-to-day job. Because, you know, we've all been there. We've done the most amazing meditation where we've been off with the angels and we're all floaty and wonderful and stuff like that, and you feel amazing. But if someone then asks you to do your finances just like 5 minutes after that, you don't stand a chance because you're all down here. Likewise, if you're all up here, you'll really struggle to do the heart-based stuff. And that is what the thymus is there for us to do, to help bring the two together.
Yeah, thank you, thymus, because that's very necessary at the moment, isn't it?
Absolutely. You know, they recognised, the highlight teams will recognise the state that we're in at the moment. And with that's why we've been given these tools to help us do this. Well
said, David. Thank you. So right, on to the next one.
Yeah. Well, this one I liked. This is from Terry. She said, there's kind of 2 questions here, but somewhat related. How do you clean your emotional body? And secondly, what is shadow work?
Ooh, yeah.
Now, shadow work, in essence, is kind of a way of clearing your emotional body.
Yeah, shadow work is the clearing of the deepest divey deepy cleaning of the emotional body, isn't it?
It is. And we call it shadow work because we're talking about the parts of us that are buried. There's no light given to them. It's the emotional patterns that we hold, the thought processes, all of the things, so we can talk, for instance, you're trying to manifest something in your life. You're trying to manifest abundance in your life. I'm sure we can all relate to that. The chances are that on some subconscious level, even if you're a millionaire, I will include this, even if you are a millionaire, the chances are you have some subconscious programmings running within yourself that are blocks to abundance. You hear this all the time. People with so much money, they get it, and then they're afraid they're going to lose it. So what happens? They lose it. And then that fear is gone and they manifest it again. And people do this up and down throughout their whole lives. And it's because they have these subconscious programmings running within them that they have no awareness of, hence the shadow part. Shadow work is about shining the light onto these areas within ourselves and basically working through these things, uncovering them, releasing them, and clearing them. I guarantee you have been doing it for years, because everyone going through this ascension process, even if they're not consciously awake at the moment, have still been going through this process on some level.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the reason for that, I kind of came up with the realization a couple of years ago that shadow work and people that specifically focus upon shadow work can get quite addicted to it. It's a bit like going to the gym and absolutely smashing yourself. You walk out of there, your legs are shaking and everything like that, but you go back and do it again the next day or the day after. It becomes something that you are drawn to. And so you can dig as much as you like. You can dig very deeply. But ultimately, I love your definition there as well, David. Shadow work is recognizing and working with the aspects of yourself that have previously remained unrecognized, or you simply don't want to recognize them. It's going into the waters of discomfort. And of course, we've all got parts of ourselves that we are presented with that we really, it could be this lifetime, it could be another lifetime, it could be anything that's coming up. But what's happening at the moment, due to the quantity and the quality of light that's coming in, we're all shadow working whether we like it or not. There's no option of you can do more if you want to do more, but ultimately those shadows are being revealed very brightly at the moment. And it feels to me that we've got more than enough on our plates to be keeping us very amused and entertained with.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, Tim. And ironically, that thing that you say about the addiction to shadow work, absolutely, I completely agree. And ironically, that probably comes back down to some form of shadow work that pushes us to... Yeah. It's the kind of the martyr complex thing, isn't it? Where you're essentially punishing yourself for some reason, and that is because some kind of unconscious program that you're running that requires shadow work to clear. It's a bit of a catch-22 on that one.
Yeah, it's like, I'm happy. I know I'm going to go and do some shadow work.
I feel good for a day. What can we do to disrupt that?
I know. I'm going to go and stuff that up good and proper.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
But of course, where all these things, most of these programs are stored within the emotional body, because the emotional body, it doesn't reset when we reincarnate from life to life. So a lot of these things, these programs, they're not necessarily from this lifetime. They could be from 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 years ago, if not beyond. That you're still carrying. And they are in your emotional body. So the shadow work is the way of clearing that. But of course, just calling light into it on a regular basis.
Violet flame.
Yeah.
And any conscious way of clearing it, once you're aware, you can alchemize it. So.
But a lot of the time, to release something, you have to work through it in order to do it. We face initiations and stuff like that in order to overcome them. And that is, in a sense, the shadow work. So by calling the light in will trigger shadow work.
It will.
By its very nature.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Terry, for that question.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you. I did actually, on that note, Yes, so this is a question from Trudy. Please, can you give me some info about initiations? I can see in the Ascension dictionary it's defined as a test by your highest self to bring you further along your spiritual pathway. Please, can you give me some examples of what this would look like? Can it be a challenging life event? And what are we being tested on? How we navigate the challenge, our resilience, how we focus. So yeah, again, it's kind of what we just talked about. An initiation is essentially, say for instance, you are trying to overcome a block to speaking your truth, and you talk to the Intergalactic Council and the Board of Karma, and you say, I want to release this pattern, this block, this fear, whatever it is that you have about speaking your truth. I want to let all of this go. You can do all the clearing, you can call in light, you can flood these things out of your system. But what a lot of the time that does is it actually brings stuff up to the surface. Again, it's the shadow work. You are illuminating it, therefore it becomes more visible. And that is what allows you to actually work on it. And then generally what happens is a situation will be manifested by the universe to test your response to that situation. So classically, with like speaking your truth, it might be that maybe someone wrongs you in some way, and in order to prove that you can speak your truth, you have to respond in the right way. You have to stand up, you have to speak, you have to say no, or whatever it is that you need to do. And then it's almost like ticking a box, like, yeah, I've achieved that, I've proved that I can do that. And in that moment, the box clear. And then, following that on, other things start to clear from within our fields and our bodies, karma knots, all sorts of stuff like that start to clear, because we've proven that we've overcome that challenge. What was it? The question you said, can it be a challenging life event? Yes.
Massively. It will always invariably present itself as a challenging life event. And initiations can vary in all different shapes and sizes. The higher you are on your pathway, the higher your frequency and your vibration, the tougher the tests can be. So if you are actually bringing yourself into a state where you have, you've accepted responsibility, you say yes to taking on a spiritual task, you will be presented with a set of tests or initiations, maybe simultaneously, that all pertain to that particular role. And like David said, one of the favourite ones is speaking your truth, or it could be an initiation of the heart, where you are required to react from a point of unconditional love, if maybe in a situation where you're being wronged. Or one of the best ones that I see occurring again and again and again is an initiation that I call going dark, where 1 minute you've got all of this lovely angelic support around you, maybe physical people in your life, and it's switched off like a tap, and it's akin to being in a dark room. Okay, so you've got no assistance from your guides and your angels, you've got no outside assistance from people in your life, maybe people that are there for you on an everyday basis, and you are graded on your response to this. Okay, and sometimes these initiations can go on for a long time, sometimes they're over in a very, very short period. It's all down to what you have agreed to do in alignment with your soul pathway. But another interesting thing is people can often say, well, I've been through that initiation, I've already done it. Okay, then you step your vibration. You talked about this the other day, Dave, and it did make me laugh because it's so bang on. It's like, haven't I done that initiation 3 times? And like the response from your team is, yes, but you haven't done it at this frequency, have you? And so, you've got to rock through it again. And the end purpose is to get you all singing, all dancing, responding from the heart in all aspects and all situations, rather than the ego. But at the end of the day, we have to remember that we are human, and the people that are organizing or orchestrating these tests for us and our higher self always takes that variable into consideration. The tests are particularly challenging at the moment. So yeah, that's the way it is.
Yeah. And it's what Tim's saying, multiple levels of the same test. Coming back to like the speaking your truth thing, it might be that the first time you say it, you don't really vocalize it. You say no, or instead of saying no, and you will have passed that test because you stood your ground and you did say no. But perhaps the next version of it that might come around a few months later or whatever will be a test to see if you can say it in a more authoritative manner, with more heart behind it, if you will. But I will just say it's okay to fail an initiation. Okay, like that, we all do it, because they're hard. They're meant to be hard. Okay, and you will fail them from time to time, and that's okay. They will come back round again. So if you haven't missed your opportunity, if you're trying to, learn to speak your truth, and you fail on one occasion, that doesn't mean you're never going to be able to speak your truth. It will come round again. You'll have learnt from the first thing. Sometimes you're not meant to pass them for the first time because you need to learn something from the experience. I always think, if you're trying to change a pattern, whether you're clearing something or you're just trying to change how you cook in the kitchen or something like that, to build up these thought patterns in our mind, the first step is always to recognize the problem. That in alone can be challenging enough. The second step is to get it wrong, but go, I realized I got it wrong. And then think, well, next time I'll do this. And you might do that 2 or 3 times, but when you come to that final time, you will do it right. And it's a journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. It's okay to stuff up from time to time.
Yeah.
That in itself can be the initiation.
Yeah.
So,
that's it.
Yeah, all good.
That's it. It's all part of the plan.
Thank you for that. Good question.
Yeah, thank you, Trudy. That was brilliant. So this is a good one from Tracy. I've noticed in some of Tim's meditations that you mention visualize, insert here, a particular archangel or ascended master, e.g. Merlin standing to your left, etc. I find it hard to do this as I have no reference point for what they look like or how the energy should feel, and feel unsure as to how to continue as I don't get it fully. That's a great question.
It is a great question, and it's perfectly okay not to be able to visualize in your head a picture. Now, one of the most important things about working with ascended masters, angels, dragons, unicorns, higher galactics is once you have thought or spoken their name out loud, they are with you. You don't necessarily have to visualize. That's just wording to basically form the meditation or the visualization itself. The power lies in the intention of bringing these energies to be with you, and that does require an element of trust if you're not a particularly visual person. I'm not an especially visual person. I'm more clairsentient. I feel it much more than I see it. And you're the same as well, David, aren't you?
I am, absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And, every single one of us, this comes down basically to how your third eye is programmed. Yeah. Every single one of us has a different third eye. We've all been in workshops. I've heard Tim, you say this before, where there's one person in the room that can see an angel standing behind you and can hear them singing the most beautiful sounds and all of these incredible things. There are people that have the full package and have these incredible things. And obviously that's kind of what we all want. Although I would imagine if you had that, it's probably a double-edged sword.
Be really distracting. I'd be like, oh, there's an angel. You wouldn't get any sense out of me.
Exactly. And you probably see some things you don't want to see. So, sometimes, these things can be a blessing. But also one thing that I've noticed, in my time doing this, it's very easy to listen to someone like Tim or myself or anyone else and then saying, I heard this from Ascended Master Merlin, or I saw an angel, all of these things. And we use these words that instantly connect us with our ears and with our ears and our eyes, our eyes and our ears, that make us think, yes, this person is physically seeing it. The reality is that most people that are doing this role and talking about these things aren't actually perceiving them in that manner. For instance, if you followed my work, I share an awful lot of messages that I receive from the angels, or Ascended Masters or whoever it is. And the way that I do this is I sit down with a pen and a paper, and I open myself up to it, and I get a feeling of each word as it comes through. I don't hear it with my physical ears. I hear it with my third eye. I hear, and I hear 2 or 3 words at a time, and I write those down. And as I've written those, the next ones are flowing through, and it just comes through in a gradual progression. I start writing. I have no idea what even the sentence I'm going to write is going to say until I get to the end of it. So it's very easy to hear other people like Tim talking about this and think that he's having this massive visual, full IMAX cinema surround sound experience. 8K. Yeah. But the reality is it's not always like that. Each one of us has a third eye that's been attuned to our own spiritual gifts and talents that is designed for the path that we are meant to walk. There is no one ability that is better or worse than the others. They all have strengths. That being said, though, doesn't necessarily mean just because right now you're like Tim and I and you feel energy, that doesn't mean that at some point down the line we're not going to have some massive upgrade, or you're going to clear a veil from your third eye and other things are going to come online. You can always continue to develop your third eye just by constantly clearing it and practicing. It takes time to do anything, and it may change.
Really good point. The ultimate goal of the third eye on a 5th dimensional level is to have balance in all of the different, and like you say, for the purpose of the ascension pathway at this moment in time, you are geared to be able to bring your gifts and talents in to fruition using what you have been gifted with for the time being. But a little bit later on down the line, like you said, David, there's nothing to say that we won't have a perfect balance of all of the sentience. You'll be able to see, you'll be able to hear, you'll be able to feel. I mean, clairsentience is the ability to feel the universe around you, and it's also the most difficult one to hone because you have to differentiate between this huge sea of information, and that can be very overwhelming to begin with.
Absolutely, it takes a lot of trust to make sure that it's what you're receiving and not what you're feeling on an emotional level or what you're desiring. Well, that's the case with anything. You can see and hear things because you really truly desire to, and it takes time and practice to really hone these skills. They say that it takes 10,000 hours to become a master of anything, if whether that's being a musician or building, being a carpenter or whatever it is, to truly become a master. They say, I don't know who they are or how they work this out, but they say it takes 10,000 hours to become a master of something. And so it is, with our same skills, it takes practice, it takes devotion, and the more and more you use them, the more they will develop.
Yeah, well said, David. Thank you.
Thank you. This was one that you liked, Tim. This is from Stephanie. Said, Ascended Master Saint Germain has taught me that we should not wear the colour red or black. I respect his teachings and understand there is an important spiritual reason not to. My question is, what about all the beautiful red flowers in nature? I live in Hawaii and there are so many beautiful red flowers here. Your thoughts on this? Mahalo. Mahalo, Stephanie.
Thank you. Good question. Good question.
It is.
Because I think the particular foundation of that teaching would have been maybe rooted in the way that colours that were worn were viewed at the fall of Atlantis, because there was a huge aspect, and I'm talking about this is shadow coming up. A lot of the trouble that was kind of stirred up at the fall of Atlantis was orchestrated by people that were clad in red and black. Okay, it's like from the kind of the dark mage aspect. I wear red and black all the time, and when I'm presenting, it's my comfy colour. I like the colour red. I've never been guided or advised not to. So I think there might be, and I'm not dissing in any way information that Saint Germain's brought through, but for me personally, I don't find that an issue. Red's a powerful colour. It symbolises the red ray, the first ray of will and devotion. And I don't think any colour on this planet could be considered bad. It's the intention with which the colour is worn, or the energy with which that colour is being expressed by. So there's a lot now that's changed, and our intention is everything. It's the same as having a symbol. You can have a symbol that may have, take, for example, the swastika. It only took 5 years to wreck that symbol and give it a very bad name. When in actual fact, it's a symbol of the light. So it's been handed down from Atlantis all the way through. It's been used again and again. It's the cross of the light. But it took one person to kind of say, we're going to use it for nefarious means, and now we're having to reclaim the energy of that symbol. And there's so many other symbols that have gone the same way, and I do believe it's kind of a little bit like that with certain colours. Or maybe another analogy would be people's general kind of response to crystal skulls. Crystal skulls were revered in Atlantean times as keepers of wisdom. The house of the, like the skull is the house of the brain, which is ultimately one of the most highly connected supercomputers that could have been manifested in physical, highly sacred. But then in maybe the last 2,000 years or so, people have started to associate the skull with death, and therefore a lot of reactions to crystal skulls like it's a skull sort of thing. I'm afraid of that. So again, it's you have to kind of go with what you feel, I think is the most powerful message here with that. Okay.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, absolutely. I wear black. I don't wear red very often, but mostly just because I'm ginger. It's not prejudice. But black I find quite a protective colour to wear.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
and it just comes down to our connotations of these, as Tim says. We talked about in the 3D, red was the colour of the base chakra, and in particular, the energy of that base chakra was survival instincts and things like that, which so much we don't wish to carry anymore. We've moved on to the platinum version of this chakra, but that doesn't mean that red is a bad colour. In fact, red is beautiful. Poppies is one of my absolute favourite flowers. They're absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. No.
There's no evil there.
No, none whatsoever. Brilliant. Thank you. Lovely job.
Right, so next question. What have we got? We've kind of covered this, but I'm just going to read it out anyway. It's a message from Diana. I've been on my Ascension pathway for 30 odd years now, but the issue and question I have is this. I'm one of the people who cannot visualize. I get an idea of the thing, say an orange, but no actual picture. Is there any tool or technique that I can use to unblock whatever this is? Just wanted to acknowledge that really, because it's kind of what we've discussed already with the third eye. As we say, you can continue to work on the third eye if you want to, working on clearing it on a regular basis, and just practicing using it can potentially improve it. But that, I wouldn't say that's necessarily a bad thing,
No.
When we talk about angels, certainly in this part of the world, we refer to them as great winged creatures that predominantly appear male or female, even though technically they are not male or female. They appear to us in a certain form, but in essence, they are pure energy. So we see this a lot at the moment. Unicorns, the classic appearance is to show up, as a horse with the horn of light and all these different things. But actually, more and more we see unicorns coming to us as a pure ball of light. And that's because that is essentially what they are. Especially as you get up to higher dimensional, you see unicorn in 12th dimension. They are usually will come to you as a sphere of light. So to be able to see a being as you say a ball of orange, for instance, that would be what Metatron is essentially at at his core, because his aura is orange. That's the energy he reflects. And it's often talked about that even other, say, religions, for instance, that have certain deities that may appear in a certain form are actually just a archangel appearing in a different form to those people, because it's about what those people as a society, their background, their history and everything like that, what they respond to, what will come through in a positive manner. So that's why, as I say, for us angels, we see them as these beautiful winged creatures that it has been chosen as the form that they project to us for whatever reasons. But
so we can identify with it.
They represent themselves as either male or female in most cases, but the reality is they are a soul that is genderless. Most of them will lean slightly towards either the divine masculine or the divine feminine, and that is why they will choose to represent themselves as either male or female. Some of them, you hear about Archangel Gabriel. Some people say it's a male, some people say it's a female, and it's for that exact reason. So I wouldn't worry too much if you don't visualize these things so specifically, exactly as they are. Just learn to hone your abilities that you've got, and for the most advantage you can get.
Yeah, I thoroughly agree. There's a lot of third eye envy that goes on out there, like you're saying earlier on. Like you say, you've got a class of 100 people, there'll always be one person in that. Oh, I can see angels everywhere, sort of thing. And everyone else is going like that. I wish I could, that sort of thing. But we've got to kind of roll with what we've got. Whatever we've got personally will be incredibly powerful, because we are powerful. You are powerful. You listening to this, you might think that you're not, but you are, and your third eye will serve you impeccably in the format that you have been gifted with. And it's the most important thing is to identify the format that serves you correctly. And later on, who knows, everything could open up and you'll get a lovely balance. But right now, while there's important work to do, and acknowledging the soul path and stepping on the ascension pathway, that responsibility is an utmost priority. So this is what we're working with.
Yeah. And actually, you just popped something else into my mind there, Tim. Acknowledging your own power is also an important step, because this is a meat suit. It's a vehicle. This is not who we are. This body that you see is not David. It's the spark of light, the spark of God that is ignited within my heart chakra. That's who I am. When I die, that leaves my body and it goes back up to source, and life carries on. Saint Germain is not a physical body. He is that spark of light that we see. He chose to inhabit a physical body for a physical lifetime where he took on that name. But that's not who he is. We are source, we are creation, we are God, we are unconditional love. And that is infinitely powerful. And learning to recognize that is life-changing.
Love that. Thank you, David. Brilliant.
Do you think we've got time for one more?
Yeah, I reckon we've got time for one more, friend. Yeah.
Let's see, what have we got here? This is an interesting one. I'm wondering what the current significance of the Pleiadian energy and Akashic records / frequencies are. They seem to be more prominent since 7/7, so I'm assuming the 7th of July. And would love your insight as to why and or how to work with the Pleiadian / Blue Star Angels, please.
Grab a crystal. Get a crystal. I've got my crystal skull here. Do you mind if I just tell a little story, David?
No, please do. Please do.
This is the story of the Pleiadian High Council, and some of you listening might have heard this already. This is back in 2014 when I first started to work with crystal skulls, or crystal skulls as a group, and I had 10 amethyst crystal skulls that I was working with to program, and I had them in a circle, like crystal skulls like being in circles, on a grid on my kitchen table, and I was having a very, very busy day, so I set them up in the morning when things were quiet. And for the rest of the day, I was just running around in circles, here, there, everywhere, kind of thing. And at 7 or 8 o'clock at night, I received a message via Facebook from a lady that I'd never connected with. And she said, "I'm so sorry. I really hope you don't mind me messaging you, but I work directly with the Pleiadian High Council, and they say, can you pick up your bloody phone, please?" And I was like, what? You know, I suddenly and then I understood the message immediately, because the way that it was formatted, and they were talking about me actually tuning in and connecting to the skulls that had been there, tuning programming all day. And the Pleiadian High Council would use the crystal skulls as an anchor point to tune into, and from that connection, which I said thank you very much for, grew the kind of the presentation of the Pleiadian Blue Rose, which was a healing modality that came through. Diana Cooper and I wrote about that in the Archangel Guide to Ascension, and also several workshops, and also the acknowledgement and the presence of the Pleiadian High Council in our ascension process. So, and this goes not just for the Pleiadians, but for any high frequency soul that you're connecting with. Your best bet, if you want to tune into them and you want to work with them, is ask them to anchor their light into a crystal of yours. It can be a crystal skull, it can be a piece of quartz, it could be amethyst. And so it can be the Pleiadian angels, or it can be any other aspect of the huge Pleiadian team that wishes to work with you, and go from there. Crystals are your friend on that aspect, because they will assist you to reach up further and reach up higher, and it gives them somewhere to anchor into, which is in our working field. And you mentioned the word Akashic records. So David and I both tend to work with the halls of Amenti, which is where we are now. We're accessing the halls of Amenti all of the time. It's where all of our spiritual gifts, information and talents are kept. The Akashic records were the records for 3D, the third dimension. So generally speaking, I only tend to go in there if I need to clear something or identify or retrieve something. But for the purposes of working with the Pleiadians, you'll be tuning into and connecting to the halls of Amenti, but most importantly, bring them into your physical world in the here and now by using a crystal. I think that's an important point.
Amazing, thank you, Tim. I love that story. It's brilliant.
I couldn't believe it. These are the words, pick up your bloody phone. It's like, what? Oh, okay. Now the penny dropped. I had to think about it for a few moments. But
amazing. I have to admit, I've got a little story on that as well, actually. That a number of years ago, before I started doing this properly, I was still on fairly early days of my journey. Tim and I were chatting one day, and I think you were talking about Merlin. We were just texting, I think.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, I know I used to work with Merlin in a past life. I'd love to start doing that again." And you text me back and you said, "Merlin says, just put a crystal to your third eye and do it." And I was classic Merlin response, classic.
Yeah.
And I was like,
no messing about.
Is it really that easy? It's not that easy. I'll put a crystal to my third eye now and nothing happens. And I was just like, okay. But reality is that is absolutely true. And now I work with Merlin on a very regular basis.
Yeah.
There's a couple of important things here. A crystal will enhance your connection, as Tim says. Put it straight to your third eye because that's where the connection comes from.
Yeah.
The problem I had at first was the belief that I could do that. And that's where it comes back to the power that we were talking about a minute ago. That was a lack of belief in my own ability that I could just do that. And that's what completely blocked me from being able to do it. You just have to trust that you can do that.
Yeah.
And it will work.
That's massive belief in your own abilities.
Yeah. So that's it.
Yeah.
If you want to talk to the Pleiadians, stick a crystal to your third eye.
Yeah, exactly. They love, all of the higher realms need an anchor point when they're trying to get through to us, because this has been a very difficult realm to reach until quite recently. The last 10 years it's becoming considerably easier. So yeah, that's where we sit with that.
Amazing. Well, I think unfortunately that's all we've got time for today. But I just want to say, Tim, thank you so much for letting me join in you. It's been an
Oh, David,
absolute
it's been
pleasure.
yeah, likewise. Thank you. Thank you for coming on and helping set up everything and take the questions. It's brilliant.
My absolute pleasure. And thank you to everyone that submitted your questions. Unfortunately, there was still quite a lot that we didn't get to.
Yeah.
But I think we should do this again.
I think we should make it a regular occurrence, actually. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Me too. I shall
Yeah.
look forward to that. And we've got some more questions that we can work through, or we can collect some more. We will do this again.
Brilliant. So from our hearts to yours, sending you all lots of love, and we will see you again very soon.
Sending you all lots of love. Take care, guys.
Bye
Have
for
a
now.
beautiful day.
Bye for now.